Hey folks, thanks for joining me. It's Andy from Ant Panda. How are you today? 2021 is going off swimmingly in a lot of aspects, but it's also going crazy in others, as per usual. But anyway, I wanted to really make this video as it had been brought to my attention some changes that was done with the app Play Store specifically for Apple. And it's interesting because I was looking over this while I was working today, and I noticed a bunch of different information that actually kind of comes out pretty scary of what is collected with Facebook and a few other apps. So I thought I'd go ahead and just kind of show this to you guys just so you get an idea. Now, just keep in mind though, even though this app privacy stuff for iOS is kind of coming up, it's actually been on the Android Play Store for a while now, but of course it's a little bit more generic. So what I mean is, let me just bring you on over to the Apple App Store itself and show you this information. So basically over the break, which when I say over the break, I mean really 1 week before Christmas and into today, Apple went ahead and released some additional information as part of their submission process for apps for their App Store. And in doing so, you've got a few apps that have already updated it already, and that the one I'm going to use for an example here is Facebook, since it's been kind of interesting when I was looking at the information. So you've seen this before, App Store preview with screenshots, information, what's new, ratings and reviews. What's kind of funny though is on Facebook that it's ranking as a 2.8 in the App Store for iOS. It's actually much higher in the Android Play Store. But what they did was they included this app privacy section, which is kind of interesting. And of course, this in itself's got a nice overview and generic information, which is showing, and keep in mind, this information actually is provided from Facebook. This actually isn't provided from Apple. Apple just took that information and asked them what information and data that they're actually grabbing for you for the app. And in doing so, they provide this as part of their latest submission and update, which is why for most apps you're seeing this included here. Some apps you're still kind of waiting for that information. So this includes information that's used, for as far as data that's used to track you and data that's actually linked to your identity. And of course, they've got some learn more stuff and information here, but let me just bring you over to this section here with See Details. So in the app privacy section for Facebook in particular, it's indicated that this is the actual privacy practices and handling of data as they included it below. And this information, of course, this is all based on what Facebook has provided. It hasn't been fully verified by Apple yet. I mean, obviously they're going to look at it more, and I'm sure this will be changed basically to verify in some future information. But included here, they've got, the developer responses, they have the privacy definitions and examples here. But I wanted to kind of let you all know and just kind of show this information because it's actually kind of freaky as I was looking through this. So data used to track you. So the following data may be used to track you across apps and websites owned by other companies, which they have an other data section, which is actually quite vague. It doesn't actually include information of what this other data and other data types are. It's just an entry in here. So that in itself is a little scary all on its own. But if you look here, you also see the contact info. It's got your physical address, your email address, your name, phone number, and identifiers for user ID and device ID. So let's take a look at the definitions in particular, though, in detail. So as you were looking and reading on the data that's actually being tracked, so this is the actual definition for tracking. So this is provided from Apple and what they indicate as part of the tracking section. So you'll need to understand whether you or a third-party partner use data from your app to track users, and if so, which data is used for this purpose. Tracking in itself refers to linking data collected from your app about a particular end user device, such as your user ID, device ID, or profile. So this information, your user ID, device ID, all that is part of your device and what you have included in the Facebook app as well as your profile. Now, this also kind of highlights a little bit more that all that information that they're tracking is used as part of third-party data for targeting advertisement, measurement purposes for that, and sharing data collected from your app about a particular end user device with a data broker. So what this essentially means is that this information they're tracking is actually being included and sent to a data broker or data advertising agency that includes that information. And not only are they using it for Facebook's purposes, but for other apps in particular. You can have apps and, government, you can have organizations, you can have other companies that you haven't even downloaded an app from that'll get your information. So all of this is included in the examples of tracking, including, this is the part that's kind of pretty scary, sharing device location data or email lists with the data broker is part of that, which is what we highlighted above. But they're also using this to retarget users in other apps to find similar users. So if you think that you're using your information in Facebook and then all of a sudden you feel like you're seeing the same information, or you're seeing something related to that information in other users, absolutely. So it's definitely something that could be part of that. So just keep in mind that that's what's happening. The following situations are not considered tracking when the data is linked solely on the end user's device, not sent off the device in a way that can identify the end user, when the data broker uses the data shared with them solely for fraud detection or prevention or security purposes and solely on your behalf. So they're not even considering this portion part of the tracking part, but a lot of this could be even third-party SDK in your app combines user data from your app with user data from other developer apps to target advertising and efficiency, even if you don't use these SDKs. In other words, there's other apps and other third-party SDKs, which is a software development kit is what the SDK stands for. Or if an app uses an API, which an API is just an automated process, it's a application program interface. So when you're using features on your app that is using an API, specifically like Facebook, it's actually taking that information, using that information for other things too. So it's kind of a scary thing. It gets even worse though, because what happens is you start looking down this list, you start looking at the data linked to you, which is like the following data, which may be collected and linked to your identity and may be used for the following purposes. So this additional information they're collecting, which again, there's the vague other data again. We don't know what that actually means. Even if you look in the section here for other data and other data types, it's just any other data types not mentioned. So we don't even know what other data they're collecting. They're collecting a ton though. And it's kind of scary that they even have that vague kind of section, but this includes like third-party advertising for purchases, financial information, which, not to completely freak you out, but financial information could be anything from form of payment card number, bank account number. The payment information is entered outside your app and you as the developer never have access, which, they say the developer doesn't, but it's still being collected. It may be collected probably in a hash or something that, that has some extra layer of protection with it, but it's still being done. That's kind of a scary thing. So as long as it's part of that payment service, your credit score is being considered as well as part of that credit info, and then such as your salary, income, assets, debts, or any other financial information, which any other financial information still is pretty vague. It's using your precise location as well as general, all that same contact information as well as other contacts that it syncs with, your search browsing history, all that stuff. So again, it kind of goes back to if you're using something on a different app or using something in a Facebook app and you're seeing kind of the same products be extended throughout, there's a good chance it's being shared. So as part of that, developer advertising and marketing, it's still kind of similar in that regard. This is basically for displaying ads and sending marketing communications directly to your users, sharing data with entities who will display your ads. All the same stuff is being used, as well as your device ID identifier and user ID. And then analytics, which again, even before we go to analytics, other data types, there's still more stuff that they're collecting. They're not listing and including here. Analytics is basically using data to evaluate your behavior, including and understanding the effectiveness of your product features, plan new features, or measure audience size or characteristics. So what's scary about this is that it's even going to go as far as to get your health and fitness. So that steak sandwich or whatever you're eating there is going to be taken into account if you enter that stuff in your health and fitness, or somehow even if you purchase your Jimmy John's or anything else, it's probably going to be included as part of that. So all that information still being kind of suckered in and being analyticalized and filized and being in some data warehouse where it's grabbing that information. So if you're not totally aware of when you're downloading this, that's what's part of it. All this information is also used for product personalization. This is just customizing what you see as far as a list of recommended products, posts, and suggestions. Again, it goes back to what we were discussing, all those ads that kind of pop up. And then it also grabs the same information for the app functionality, which allows you to be able to include additional functionality that they want to include. I do want to bring your attention, though, to sensitive information. It's also grabbing that info that you provide in the sensitive info. And the sensitive info stuff is such as like your racial, ethnic data, your sexual orientation, pregnancy, childbirth information, disability, religious, philosophical beliefs, trade union, political opinion, genetic information, biometric information, all that stuff. If you enter it into Facebook and you have it on your account and you download the app, all that stuff is getting analyzed. You just got to keep in mind, though, any app that you have included on your device, there's a good chance a lot of those different apps are going to be sharing that information across the board. So if you are downloading these apps and including them on your device, make sure the information you put there is the information you want publicly available. Otherwise, if you're thinking that you're going to keep it safe and secure in those applications, I don't think that's definitely going to work. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, this is just information to provide for you. So let me know in the comments down below what you're thinking. If if this is just normal day to day, if this does kind of open your eyes a little bit on all that information they're grabbing, and also if you're one of those that is looking to download any of these apps onto your device, what pieces of information bothers you that they're collecting. It's crazy that they're collecting sensitive information, the other data types that we don't even know what that is, as well as the health and information there. So it's actually kind of creepy. Anyway, hit me up there, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.